Listen. Some people believe the spirit stays in the body for months after death. It's working! We can bring her back.
All right, so Ricardo, thanks to your weapons review, I finally checked out Bring Her Back. I actually saw it last night, time of me recording this, and one reason why I wanted to see it was because it's showing right now. I'm not sure if it will still be showing in local theaters by the time this review comes out. But yeah, it's showing right now in Caribbean Cinemas 8 and in Movietown, right? As far as Caribbean Cinemas 8, what's kind of weird now is that it's a 9:30 screening alone, and it's with Spanish subtitles. Okay. I'm not saying that you can't run movies with Spanish subtitles. I've seen trailers run there with Spanish subtitles, which is kind of weird, kind of off-putting, but to see a full movie with Spanish subs, like, you sure that's a good idea?
No, they're catering to, possible higher end, higher populations of Venezuelans.
I know, which is fine, It's
but just Caribbean cinemas actually have is a big Spanish syndicate, if I remember correctly. I think it was syndicate. I shouldn't say that, but because it's Puerto Rico and a lot of Spanish Caribbean is reference or cater to, and I'm not sure how much of South America caters to. But that is it. It's not really the English speaking Caribbean. I think it centers the Spanish Caribbean, if I remember correctly.
Right.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I understand. But also too, is it time to? It's just one screening because weapons are showing right now. Like there's 4 or 5 screenings right now in Caribbean cinemas, right? But yeah, only one for Bring Her Back. That's kind of weird, but okay.
Yeah, Bring Her Back just kind of came and went for a lot of people. I caught it when it was kind of out. I got a screener for it, and I didn't think I would enjoy it. I didn't even know why they sent me that. I was like, all right. I mean, I'm not into it, but it ended up being like a really good movie. Because it's a horror movie. As a horror movie, I actually enjoyed it, and it was actually engaging and whatever.
Yeah, I totally agree as well, right? And another reason for me why I wanted to see it just before I give a quick synopsis on it, the directors, Danny and Michael Philippou. I was put onto them through the great, in my opinion, debut feature Talk to Me, right, which came out a couple of years ago. And I actually rewatched that movie in preparation for this, and yes, the movie is still a very, very, very well executed debut feature, right? And just the mere fact that these guys are YouTubers, Shred, and they found, they found the right genre, and they just hit the nail on the head. They just come up with a really brilliant story, drenched in grief and tragedy and just dread. It totally worked for me, right? It's not a show that I absolutely love though, but in terms of the conceit and what they were going for with it, I thought I didn't nail it though, you know what I mean? But that's the mere fact that E24, because E24 released Talk to Me, right? Yeah, E24 was so impressed by what it is they did there. Say, all right, well, yeah, we're gonna help you out with all this sophomore feature, right? So here we are with Bring Her Back, right? So what it's about in a nutshell, because I want to keep things as spoiler-free as possible, right? So we're introduced to Andy, right? And he has a stepsister by the name of Piper, who is partially sighted, right? And they are dealing with the death of their father, right? And through the foster care program, they are brought in. They're pretty much being taken care of by Laura, right? Who is a former counselor, right? So she lives in the woods, basically, in this nice little home. Yeah. She is weird, quite quirky, it's like something off with her from the jump, but she seems very nurturing, right? She seems very concerned, and she cares about them. She cares about them, especially with the fact that they're dealing with such a heavy loss, right? But then you realize that there's another kid who lives there too by the name of Oliver, right? But we don't really know anything about this kid except that he is mute, his hair shaved bald, and he, slight spoiler, mutilates himself. And you're not really sure why or what's going on, right?
We know, we learn why,
Right, and then throughout the show, you learn that there is... Basically, Laura has this weird occult scheme going on, right? And it involves... pretty much taking the spirit of her dead daughter named Cathy and putting it in a body. But the question is, which body, right? And if this process has worked before because they introduce this right from the jump. There are these VHS tapes that Laura watches, very grisly, very disturbing tapes of this occult ceremony taking place where basically basically with possession, right, spirit possession and stuff like that, right? So she's basically trying to do this thing now with her daughter's spirit, and shenanigans ensue, right? And yeah, for me, what I would say, right, just right off the jump though, that talk about talk about a director avoiding the sophomore slump, right? Okay, yeah, these guys just basically come and say, nah, we not no one trick pony here. We not, like, everybody love Talk to Me. Yeah, everybody love it. But this one, we going deeper though. We going darker. We getting more visceral. We aiming straight at your throat with this one, right? And yeah, there were moments, boy, where I was like wincing, where I was like,
I was seen with a knife, like, oh my
yeah, boy, when I see, I was like, oh, god damn. No. Now, here's the thing. I watched some reviews after the fact, right? And it's very interesting, the discourse that people have with this movie, right? So, of course, people will compare this to Talk to Me and ask about which film is better, right? And many people will say that Talk to Me is better. I actually agree that Talk to Me is better, right? But that's not to say that this movie, isn't worth your time and it is not, what I hope will be part of a very solid filmography from these guys, right? But it's very interesting that people kind of discussing this show and saying, oh, Talk to Me was more emotionally driven than this one, almost saying as if, that the Philippou brothers kind of dropped the ball here. I don't think so. I just think that they just told a different story, which they did. It was very visceral in this case, but just, the mere fact that people want to instantly compare this movie to something that they did 2 years ago. I understand, right? But at the same time, it's like, dog, like let the show breathe a little bit, and then they can make all the discussion afterwards. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. The working comparison actually is John Peel. In my humble opinion,
yes,
I actually like Us. I actually like Us more than
Get Out.
Get Out. In my opinion,
and that's a great discourse. So which film is better, Us or Get Out?
Right.
Get Out is the most popular film he has in his 3-film discography right now. So it's easy to say that Get Out is the best, but Get Out is very overrated in my opinion, right? And because it shows up in a lot of best of lists and best of the decade, all that kind of stuff, it's easy for anybody to say Get Out is the best film he ever did. But there was stuff about Us that I love, but I treat both films as different films,
Us is actually still my favorite of his three. But I don't know, like that's how I see this. The same thing, like this different. It's not trying nothing different, but I actually I thought this was more engaging than the previous one.
Yeah, and you have every right to agree to that, right? So at the end of the day, even though I still prefer Talk to Me, but then again I only saw Talk to Me twice, right? I only saw this movie once, so maybe if I were to watch this film a couple more times, I'll say bring her back is better, right? But honestly, this is just 2 films in their filmography right now, so I really don't want to be comparing and saying, because I prefer this film over that film, that means I shouldn't like the other film more. No. You know what I mean? They're 2 different films. I have to treat it as such, right? But that being said, though, yeah, these guys knocked it out of the park here. One thing that I really, really admire about the show, Dread, is that the directors did not hold your hand and tell you, this is what's going on, this is why this thing is going on. No, they leave it up to you to piece together everything, right? And even at the very end, even though there's still things that are not clear or they didn't really address, there's still enough material for you to be like, oh, that's what was going right. But yeah, admittedly, I was just like, okay, what's going on here? Why this kid acting so weird? Why this thing with the knife and why this thing and this thing and that thing, right? But I was trusting the directors, and right up to the very end, I was like, yes, keep going, keep giving me the mystery box stuff, and then at the very end, I was like, yes, it was worth it. Just all the questions I felt were mostly answered, and I was satisfied with that,
Yeah, no, I think they explained enough. It didn't hold your hand here, correct? But like, I think they explained it enough to say, oh no, yeah, this is easily surmisable from what we see. It's fine. Like it's nothing one way or the other.
Also, similar to Talk to Me, right? I love this one thing I love about horror, and I just love how the Philippou brothers approach horror, right? is that there's always this sort of conceit that they don't have to stop to explain the origins of, right? So, like in Talk to Me, they didn't stop to say where the porcelain hand really came from, right? You know, this is not the Conjuring universe, right? We're not doing that, right?
Right.
There's a porcelain hand, some random character said, oh, you know, it may have come from this, and you know, some serial killer is a serial killer hand or some psycho hand, and blah 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 blah, and that's all they say, right? But there's no reasoning into why when you touch it, it's able to like tap into, you know, this, you know, all these demons and spirits and all that kind of stuff, right? You know, it's just part of what the story is about, right? But really what the story is about grief, right? How the main character had to deal with the death of her mom, right? And in this case, it's about how, yeah, these three characters are dealing with grief, right? It's just in Laura's case, right, who is played brilliantly by Sally Hawkins, right? And for me, I went in blind not knowing who was standing what, right? So when I see she's like, hey, you in this, right? But yeah, she was brilliant in this role. I love how flawed she is, though. You know, she doesn't know everything, right? So she is trying a lot. She's trying to follow the spell that she see in the VHS tapes. So yeah, ever so often she would drop the ball and she would do something wrong, or somebody might fuck something up, and then she had to take action. Sometimes she'll make the wrong decision, or sometimes she'll just make a decision that'll catch her completely by surprise. You know what I mean? And she's just like desperately trying to figure out what to do, right? So I love that about the character, right? And then as far as, you know, the two kids themselves, you know, it's just them just realizing that something weird is going on, right? And how they deal with that, though, yeah, was really riveting to me, right? But yeah, the Philippou brothers really show that they have a knack for horror, right? And I see them as, you know, the next, you know, like probably, you know, the next in line in terms of like this horror, you know, torchbearers, if you will, right? I don't know if they will do like Jordan Peele and make a next horror film, or try to do like a genre mashup, like say what Nope was, or if they'll go on the Ari Aster route and do a brand new genre, right? But still have it be soaked in dread, right? I don't know, right? But I guess we'll see, right? But yeah, these guys have a knack for horror, and you could tell in terms of the direction, in terms of how the music is used, the use of sound, and in particular the writing. Again, I just love the fact that they're not telling you everything that's going on. You just had to piece together what's going on, right? And also, just certain pieces are right, and that's like in terms of what like character motivations or what characters do, right? Especially with Piper, with her being partially blind, right? Just certain things about her, right? What they say earlier on, for example, with her just being able to see light and a little bit of imagery and whatnot, but she can't have a clear picture of what she's seeing. There's a moment near the end of the film where she does something like, but wait, she shouldn't be able to do that, or that's like a huge risk, right? Because she is partially blind. But given the shit that she went through prior to that, no, which I will not spoil, yeah, that makes sense. I would do exactly what it is she doing. The mere fact that she gets through it, what it is she set out to do, even though it's a simple action, don't spoil anything. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. It literally puts you in her shoes. I'd be like, yeah, I don't care. I would do what I can to get out of that situation. That's all I'll say, right? But yeah, as I wrap things up now, right? Yeah, this was a kind of a brilliant follow-up though to Talk to Me, right? But again, I understand the discourse with people saying that they prefer Talk to Me because they find it was more emotionally driven. I think the main reason why people were disturbed by it was because it's when it comes to the violence and the gore, it's mainly centered around the children involved, right? Especially, I forgot the actor who played Oliver though, but yeah, that man like put himself out there in this film though. Like the moment with him, with the mutilation and the blood, but they understand why, right? It's not like he is being tortured, right? Dude is torturing himself, Trey, but like when you see it, boy, in those moments, it just twists your stomach, no lie, it twists your stomach, right? But when you understand the why, you know, it's like, oh, okay, that's why it is, right? But there's still aspects about his character that are still left unexplained, and that's just the beauty of horror. It requires that when you watch it again, you'll be like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense. Or then over the years, you know, things will start to continue to make much more sense, right? But at the end of the day, it's really about the emotion involved. It's about the grief involved, right? And yeah, that is something that I could totally relate to, right? So yeah, when characters are trying to deal with grief, or in the case of, you know, Sally Hawkins' character, look, I just trying what I can to just get my daughter back. It makes a lot of sense, right? Even when characters do dumb shit or they just do things that are beyond fucked up, right? There's always like an emotional like undertone to it all, right? And that makes a lot of sense to me, right? So while at the moment I still prefer Talk to Me over this, but then again, I only saw Bring Her Back last night. I am still gonna give this a decent to strong 4 to 5. This is one of the best horrors I've seen all year. Will this be in my top 15? I don't know, but if it does not make it, it will definitely be in my honorable mention. But this is a film that definitely I don't want to remember. I don't want to forget. Sorry, by year's end though, because the Philippou brothers really knocked it out of the park here, right? But again, I can understand some people being turned off by it because of the level of violence and gore in it, but. That's not to say that the movie is terrible, It's just that it have really disturbing moments. I'm sorry, but it's horror, man. Deal with it, right? But they just came through and did what they had to do, and that's all I have to say.
Yeah. No, violence has to make sense in the tone of it, and in this, like, given what we are finding out, at least what we know at the end, is like, oh no, that makes sense. Like, to me, that makes sense. Like, okay, yeah. Like, it'll do something like that. So that didn't bother me in that way, or it just trying to be shock value issue or anything like that. Like, it worked.
Yeah, it does. It's not shock value, but if you look at it, if you were to watch the movie and you find it to be shock value because of the violence in it, then okay. But to be fair, Talk to Me had a few moments that was like, what the fuck? That's all I would say, right? So you can't be mad at the Philippou brothers for just ramping things up with the sophomore feature. I mean, it's your sophomore feature, right? You kind of had to step your game up, right? And that's exactly what these guys did, right? And I can't wait to see what they do next, right? So, Ricardo, I know you saw it before me, so you could just keep your review short and simple, and you could give her a rating.
Yeah. This was like a surprisingly engaging. I know I'm a big horror person, but so you had to come good, and it had a actually engaging mystery. It piecing together what's going on. The kids are great. Like the two main kids, I thought were excellent. They were like really really emotional. They really make it work. And then when all was said and done, it's like, oh no, this ultimately work. It make a lot of sense. And I find it was just one really really solid outing, all things considered. Rating, like I gave it like a 7, closer to 8 to be honest. Because again, not a super horror fan, so you have to do something to like really hook me in, and it did that. 7 out of 10.
Right. Well, lastly, before we move on, any thoughts on Sally Hawkins' performance? Sorry, what do you thought about her performance?
Oh yeah, she was pretty good. Like she was neither here nor there for me. I recognize her, but like I didn't. I get it in the context of a desperate mother, have to do what she'd have to do to do this that to the other. I don't want to spoil it. But it works for what it is. Like it's like, all right, cool, but it wasn't like something that blew me away as a performance, to be honest. But I just I did nothing that I know I remember about the movie.
Right. No, understand. Like, I mean, it's not no Oscar with the performance, right? But in terms of like what she had to do in the film, right? It reminds me of like Toni Collette in Hereditary, like just where her character, where she had to push her character basically, right? So that's basically what it is, right? But yeah, Bring Her Back is one of the best horror films of the year, bar none, right? I don't know why, in terms of theatrical release here in Trinidad, why there's only like one screening time in Caribbean cinemas.
It's too scary for locals, right?
Yes. Even though Weapons is showing in the daytime, right?
Correct.
But what happened? Like, you had to show this movie at night because it's too scary. Come on, man.
It's too scary. But the same reason why with his Late Night with the Devil, because that devil in it.
Oh yes, that's true. Yes.
One screen in that corner somewhere.
What you could do?
I've been asshole, but like that's pretty much what it is.
No, it's true, right? But however you do get a chance to see this film, I strongly recommend that you see this because yes, it is one of the best horror films of this year, bar none.
Yeah, that was great.